Overview of DG3D20 Professional Project, otherwise known as your FMP, which obviously some of you started last May and that we've reviewed during semester one at the start just to see what your initial ideas were. Obviously they could change. So we start on Wednesday the 29th of January. Submission date is the 7th of May, and obviously you get your feedback on the 4th of June. Right, something to bear in mind with this module is a 40 credit module. All the modules you've done to this point have been 20 credits. This is what we call a double award, so this has a quite a large bearing on your final degree classification because it's worth 2 normal modules for 20 credits. So as I said to you at the start of this journey back in May, once you handed an HE module, and obviously what I've reiterated back in October, is it's your flagship piece of work to show potential employers and potential agencies, wherever they may be, to offer you guys internships or just general engagement. So scrolling down, I won't go through all the aims. We've discussed that when we unpack the module on Wednesday the 29th. But as I said, this is your flagship project to show potential employees that it's a live project and you're tackling real world advertising problems in real time, etc., etc. So, those of you with this last year and the second year, you've done that on the HE module where you did 2 live briefs again to a timeline and a budget, etc., etc., etc. So, obviously, we will be discussing the brief. So, you've already pitched your 3 ideas back in the autumn. They may have changed based on maybe the exposure you got with Stephen Cleary doing the motion software. So maybe you will now do something which is motion based on those workshop. Maybe you've been inspired by your internship. If you've done an internship, you may have a live brief, or you can go back to your client and ask for a live brief. Maybe something you've written about in your case study module, maybe the Ad Collab module where you work with a charity, or maybe the Lego brief, you want to kind of build on that. So I totally understand that things may have changed from when we first discussed back in May, and obviously when we picked this back up at the semester one in October, November. So I want this to be as realistic as possible, but obviously have realistic constraints. So you've only got 12 weeks, 15 if you factor in the Easter break, but this is obviously your flagship project, so this is yours, this is your strengths. So are you doing something integrated across different platforms? Are you doing something creative? Is it video based? Is it animation? Is it typography? Is it marketing? Is it strategy? Is it building on the things you ran by us in October? Has it changed? Have you just done an internship and they've offered you an opportunity to do a live brief or to showcase your talent with potential employers? Again, that stuff we will be discussing in the first few weeks, both individually and during your SGD, which means small group tutorials. So I'll be putting you guys into little groups. I won't go through the learning outcomes. We'll discuss that in class. So as I said, this is your FMP. It's capped at 80 slides because it's about quality, not quantity. So this is your last brief, final countdown. This is a platform that launches you into the industry. So think long and hard. What is your flagship project going to be? How does it look? What media platforms? What's the objective of it? How is it going to enhance your prospect of employability when you graduate? As I said, we will be discussing this in the next few weeks, and I'll be giving you guys virtually a blank template where you obviously you put the title, your advertising problem, and how you're going to break down your timeline. Your biggest enemy in this is your organization and structure, because inclusive of Easter, as I said, you've got 15 weeks how to stay on track. So you're doing your research, that then morphs into development, then that morphs into your outcomes. Allow plenty of time, especially if you're filming or editing or doing anything animation or very time consuming. And then it's all just go with your analysis and evaluation and your documentary of that project, capped at 80 slides max, as that is quality, not quantity. So some of the things to think about is, have you got a client? Is it through an agency? Is it a charity? Is it something you want to pick up from internship or from Lego, or something motion based, etc., etc.? What's your challenge? What's your proposal? Who's the target audience? What is the advertising problem? These are some of the things we'll be discussing. and that you'll be then putting on your template. So basically, you write your own brief in the first few weeks, and then you stick to that brief, and obviously and develop your actual campaign. Plus, it sits nicely with your other module, your creative advertising, where you're recrafting for projects you've done in the past, plus you're doing your D&AD, plus then obviously you're developing your LinkedIn, maybe building a website, building a portfolio, plus then there's elements of the grad show coming in. So this is all about packaging you guys for employability when you leave us in the summer. So as I said, I'll go through this. If you are struggling, if you're struggling for a brief or your time management, come to me, talk to me. Plus, don't forget we've got study skills downstairs with Kieran, who you've met, so he can help you manage your time, write your proposal, organize so that you deliver this module within 12 weeks of the semester, plus the break of Easter. So this is an overview, and then, as I said, then there's your small group tutorials. So to make this more manageable and bite-sized, because you're all doing individual projects, once we unpack the module, then it's a case of putting you guys together in normally 3s or 4s, and then having obviously tutorials of how you're getting on, because you're all doing individual. There's no blanket brief like we did previously, maybe the charity brief or also the Lego brief. You're all doing your individual things. Therefore, I'm going to break you down into the clusters, and then we'll be discussing that. Obviously, they'll be doing formative assessments. So doing formative assessment, I want to see your proposal, which is your template, plus a minimum of 20 pages of research analysis, and then evidence of development and your clear strategy. So by the formative date, where you're going with this, you've done your core research, you've got your idea and your initial ideas before you start your production stage on whatever media platform that may be. And obviously summative then is your submission, which is the 7th of May, which is your last submission on the course. And then moving on, there's your checklist. So it's one big PDF, and there's your 4 grading criteria, all equally weighted 25%. So your research, your development, your outcomes, which you decide about media platform, length, format, art direction, style, and obviously your analysis, which would be your annotation, breaking down the brief, and obviously then evaluating your journey over the next semester. And then moving on, your scheme of work. So there's 2 sessions a week, Wednesday morning, Friday morning, CAD 301. So as I said, we'll be unpacking the module, showing examples. Then hopefully we've got a guest speaker from Golly Slater, one of our grads. That's to be confirmed, but it's been penciled in. And then also we've got the week 2. We've got Phil coming in. Phil you met before in a digital thinking workshop of how he would approach your FMP and how to break down your insight, and etc., etc. And then we'll be working through our workshops over the next few weeks, as you can see. Then you're going to be pitching. So a week of the 24th, once you're about a month, then you're going to be pitching your final proposals. Then you're going to email me your final proposal, and that almost as a contract. So if you're going to say you're going to deliver X, Y, and Z, that's what we expect to see for submission and market. So it's up to you to organise your time, organise your strategy. If there's a budget involved, is there a real world client? Obviously you're all going to be very individual projects, and then you're going to submit that, and obviously then we're going to do some formatives. The checklist is obviously above, and then we're going to work towards Easter, post Easter, and then obviously you submit on the 7th of May. So it's quite straightforward. As I said, those of you with us last year in year 2 launched this in May, so you've chipped away in the summer. The rest of you, obviously, who joined us in September, we've covered this already in semester 1. You've all pretty much pitched your quick ideas. As I said, they may change or morph, but we've had some initial feedback. So I think most of you got some strong ideas. So we'll pick this up when we launch the module on the 29th of January.